What's up, Matt? I only ask if you messed with any front flippers yet, because I was just wondering. I've got a few basic different mechanisms here. Uh, Kinda would rather know which one you'd prefer if you have a preference. Not that it'll be any of these particular knives, but just to, I don't know how much you know about them, so I'll run through them real quick. I'm pretty sure autos are legal where you are, so I've got a few of those here. They all basically look the same, but they're easy because you just push the button and they fly out. They're kind of shitty to close because you have to press the button and then fight that spring all the way home. So those are all basically the same. They'll all do the same shit. Out the side automatics. They have out the fronts too, but they're more expensive, and usually if they're cheaper, then they're super shitty. These are fairly cheap autos. I'm not allowed to carry them in this state, so what I own is kind of crappy. Then there's your basic thumb stud knives. So you can open them slow like that. That's a liner lock. So that pushes to the side. You can close it. Or you can push your thumb basically straight up against that thumb stud, and they'll just fly open. That makes them more fun to play with, quicker to open. So there's that one, thumb stud with a liner lock. Then you've got a thumb stud with a axis lock. That's a bar lock that goes through right there, and you just pull that whole thing back, and you can see that lock move. So you would, same thing, push that thumb stud, and then when you pull that lock back, that one will just drop because there's nothing holding these. These are a little more fun because you can pull that lock back and just whip it out. So these are fun to play with, but they get boring pretty quick because that's about all you can do is just. But every Benchmade is basically like that. There's a couple other companies that use a lot like that, but thumb stud bar lock, and this is another thumb stud with a liner lock. That's just an example of something cheap that's a really great knife. They make them well. That thing's on washers and it still damn near drops shut. You give it a little shake. Really nice shit. It's like a fabric feeling micarta. They have micarta that's smooth, and they have it that has like a texture to it like that. Looks like denim jeans. Okay, and then you got the hole openers. They're basically the perfectly round circle is only going to be Spyderco or someone that's paid Spyderco. Otherwise they could have a hole, but it's got to be an oval or some other shape than a perfect circle. This one is the only oddball of the Spydercos because you can't get to the hole from this side. So all you can do is thumb open it, just like the thumb stud. That's a frame lock. So it's the same thing as a liner lock, but you can see it. And it's just the whole thing. They make a piece of steel and stick it in right there so that it's not titanium on steel. They'll make it a steel on steel interface, and you can see that tab coming across in that gap. That makes it where you can't overextend the lock bar when you go to unlock it if you're excited or something. So you push that over and then you can push that down. And these are not a whole lot of fun, but they work, and that's a good cutting tool. Titanium, nice and smooth, good looking knife if you just want something basic. That's not exactly cheap, but Um, you know, that just based on taste, if you like that or not. Most of your Spydercos are going to be more like these. This is a compression lock. They've got a few different styles of locks. They have one that's a lot like that bar lock. But the Spydercos, people like to either thumb open them like that, and you push that in, and that thing just drops. So that's called a compression lock. It's just a pinch. It works a lot like a liner lock, but it's on the back side, so your fingers never have to be in the blade path. What's fun about these is the Spidey flick is what they call it. So you middle finger flick it. And there's another shot of that lock. So when you push that over, that just drops. So I'll show it to you from like that. They're pretty nice. You can also squeeze that and flick it out, kind of like the Benchmade with the bar. Once it releases, it's just free. That's a smaller one, but it's in a pretty nasty steel, so they're still $150 to $200. Same deal with this one. It's just a little bit bigger. It's almost the exact same knife, just bigger. It's easier for me to use because it's got the longer blade, so there's more inertia, and it flicks out better, and it lays back down better. It's these were what got me started. This was the one that actually got me into knives at all, and I've gone down a fucking rabbit hole. All right, and now we've got flippers. These are generally going to be either liner lock or frame lock, and because they have to have that detent that holds them shut, so that when you start pushing on this tab, you've got to get that ball out of the hole in the blade. So once you overcome that, it'll fly out. And those are entertaining to play with, especially if you get a really nice one that is on good bearings. This one is not particularly good. It's a nice knife, but it's not exactly a plaything. You have to shake it pretty hard to shut it. Most of the ones that I post are, $1,000 plus. This one's about $250. This one's about $100. That's a Ferrum Forge Gent. It opens great. It flies out there. It's a liner lock, but it won't drop either. You have to shake it. But they work well. It's a fairly thin grind. Cuts pretty good. Some of these are better steel than others. Sometimes it's just people's opinion. And then there's the cheapest one of this bunch. That one's I think it was 85 or 90 bucks. It's cheap Damascus. It's based on some Chinese alphabet steel. I think it's 9CR18. It's actually carbon fiber, but it's pretty cheap looking. There's nothing particularly great about it. It's nice for the price. They make them well, and it's ground well. It's nice and straight and even, and it does sharpen up nicely, and you can easily shave with it, cut whatever you want to cut with it. Just doesn't cut for quite as long before it gets dull. There's that. And then the ones I'm asking about is if you've ever messed with the front flipper. That's just something different. It's a little newer. They look cleaner than, say, your regular flippers here. The rear flippers, when they come open, you've got this tab sticking out, and you can use that for a guard, or sometimes they put that extra notch there so you can choke up on the knife. And they've just always got that something sticking out, and a lot of people don't like how that looks, because your thumb stud knives like that one, they're fairly clean looking. Most of them, there's some that are even smoother looking. That one's kind of got a finger notch in it. That one's got a big ass finger notch. Probably this one. Yeah. So that's just really clean looking. It's just got a tiny bump to let you know you're about to get cut. I think people kind of like those clean lines. I like them, but I prefer regular flippers myself. But I've started getting into these front flippers. What they are is basically you open them kind of like a lighter. You just go on in the front or on top and go straight back over the back, and it'll fly right open just like a flipper. These are called bolster locks, but it's the same thing as a frame lock. Just push that over to unlock it, and they're on ball bearings too, and they're mediocrely expensive because a lot of the people that are making them are either custom makers or collaborating with custom makers, and they're still just more expensive knives because they're less common. There are a few cheap ones. These first two are pretty nice. Nothing particularly special, but they're somewhere around 300. Then you got this one. They just started making that one. It's got a nice big tab on the top, so it's easy to get on. It pops open pretty strong, and it's fairly cheap. That one I think is 90-ish, and it's on fairly smooth bearings. It's got decent steel. It surprised me. They're coming along. This company here is let's see, it's the QSP, so it's the same one that makes that one. Their micarta feels good. The carbon looks pretty good. Doesn't look too awfully cheap. Just the pocket clips, they look a little cheap, but most of the rest of it, I mean, it's a nice knife. But I was just wondering if you'd messed with ones like this yet, or what you thought about them. There's a few out there that are surprisingly good. So if you just let me know if there's something you've either had before and liked, or if you're just wide open and don't give a shit. All right, let me know. Bye.